Hey everyone, welcome back to the So Wizard podcast rundown of AFI's 100 Years, 100 Movies, 10th Anniversary Edition. Before we get started, please remember to subscribe to our channel. It really helps us grow our audience. Besides, you aren't going to want to miss the rest of this list. Number 96 on the list is one of those movies that never leaves public discourse. Do the Right Thing is a comedy drama that was commercial and critical success when it came out. Since then, it has been deemed culturally, historically, and aesthetically significant by the Library of Congress. It's also been preserved by the National Film Registry, an honor not every movie receives. Do the Right Thing plays a bit like a day in the life kind of story. The audience is brought into a neighborhood where we meet a unique cast of characters, the residents. It's a well-established world with well-established dynamics. Clearly these people have known each other for a long time. The particularly night the audience is brought along for the ride is oppressively hot. The heat, along with the already boiling tensions, explode in racial violence amongst the residents of the neighborhood. Do the Right Thing has a lot to say. That's a fairly common theme with Spike Lee's work. He's had varying degrees of success, but hits the mark more often than not. Do the Right Thing came early in his career and in a lot of ways defined it. Do the Right Thing fires on all cylinders. The performances are great. The cast is packed with talent and even introduced audiences to brand new faces. The comedy elements still work over 3 decades later. The messages and themes throughout the movie are also still relevant 3 decades later. While this last part is good for the movie and its longevity, it's not the best look for what's supposed to be a progressive nation. Don't worry, we're not going to get too political here, but that's what the movie's about. Something that really stood out to me on a recent rewatch is that while Lee's stance is very clear on the subjects of the movie, he colors his characters with shades of gray. The decisions they make are not necessarily perfect. Do the Right Thing could easily be punctuated with a question mark. The characters did what felt natural to them in the moment, under the extreme circumstances, and that has generated decades of conversation amongst fans and critics of this movie. I'm never against the movie having a message, but it has to be a good movie first and deliver the message second. If a movie has the best message and intentions in the world, but the movie itself sucks, it's still a bad movie. The execution on the Do the Right Thing is why audiences are still drawn to it. New generations are still discovering it, and it's even part of many educational curriculums, not just in film schools. I touched very briefly on the talent behind the movie a second ago. But this is an aspect of the movie that needs to be discussed. Spike Lee, for one, wrote, produced, directed, and stars in the film. Pulling quadruple duty is impressive in itself. His performance in the movie shows that he ever wanted it, Lee could have been just as successful an actor as he is a director. Giancarlo Esposito wasn't exactly a household name until his amazing performance in AMC's Breaking Bad. But that doesn't mean the character actor turned audience favorite wasn't loaded with talent. Esposito doesn't get the most screen time, but his character is incredibly important in the plot of the movie. It's always fun revisiting older movies like this. They've been in your lexicon in the back of your mind for as long as you can remember, and then you rewatch it and you rediscover performances and actors with fresh eyes based on other works they've done. John Turturro and Samuel L. Jackson also show up in this movie with some great performances. Turturro, like Esposito, is one of those actors that may not be as prevalent a name as some others, but they always deliver. And Samuel L. Jackson is, well, he's Samuel L. Jackson, what's not to like? Do the Right Thing was also the big screen debut of Martin Lawrence and Rosie Perez. We could sit here and go on and on and on about all the colorful characters and the talent behind them, but there's a lot more movie to talk about. When Do the Right Thing was ramping up for its release, it was expected to be somewhat of a controversial movie. Not because the majority of people disagree with the anti-racist sentiments, but whenever a movie calls out society on glaring issues, there's bound to be some friction. I fully believe creating friction was the point. It gets people talking. Even better, since Do the Right Thing is a legitimately good movie. If you're someone who just wants to escape the world and be entertained, Do the Right Movie is a viable option for your Friday night. The social commentary that comes with the movie will find its way in without beating you over the head with it. Despite the aforementioned friction, critics adored the movie from the start. Do the Right Thing was nominated for 2 Oscars and won another 20 awards in 1989. Siskel and Ebert both loved the movie. They called it the best movie of 1989 and later doubled down by saying it was one of the best movies of the entire decade. And you have to remember, this was before the internet era where every person was a movie critic. In more recent times, Do the Right Thing is still well regarded. Popular film review sites hold the movie on many best of lists. Spike Lee is still asked about the movie in interviews today despite his long and impressive career. Despite the critical response and the fact that the movie is still talked about to this day, almost with the fervor that it was when it first came out in theaters, the box office numbers at the time were not where I thought they'd be. Do the Right Thing was made with a modest $6.5 million. It barely made half of that back on opening weekend. It went on to gross $27.5 million domestically and only $10 million more than that worldwide. I'd love to see these numbers more fully fleshed out with home media sales, digital sales, soundtrack sales, and revenue generated from streaming. Studios seem to focus really hard on those precious opening weekend numbers. Movies like this are proof that the long game is the way to go. Well, that was Spike Lee's career-defining Do the Right Thing. Number 96 on the 10th anniversary edition of AFI's 100 Years, 100 Movies list. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to our channel for more. Also, be sure to listen to Subwizard Podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Subwizard Podcast can also be found on Patreon, where for as little as $1 a month, you get multiple monthly bonus shows. Check out SubwizardPodcast.com for reviews, recommendations, all new merchandise, and more. We also love hearing feedback, so leave something in the comments or drop us a line on social media. All the accounts can be found after the show and in the show notes. Come back next Friday for number 95 on the list, The Last Picture Show.